Jake "Ghost" Lawson wasn't your average man, a decorated Navy SEAL sniper. He'd served in countless classified missions, his name etched in silence, his legacy hidden under layers of redacted reports. He had spent most of his adult life in the shadows, eliminating high-value targets and protecting national interests far from the public eye. But none of that mattered on a quiet Saturday afternoon in San Diego. Jake had stepped into a local convenience store for some groceries. As he walked out, 2 police cruisers screeched to a halt. Officers jumped out, guns drawn. On the ground, now one barked, Jake didn't resist. He dropped his bag and calmly followed instructions. Within minutes, his hands were cuffed behind his back, his face pressed against the concrete. The officers believed he was a fugitive named Samuel. J. Quinn wanted for armed robbery. What they didn't realize was that Samuel J. Quinn was one of Jake's former Black Ops aliases, a name buried deep in military intelligence. The system had flagged it without context, and the officers didn't look twice. To them, Jake was just a dangerous man with a match in their database. At the precinct, Jake sat quietly in an interrogation room, not saying a word. He'd been trained to endure worse than this, but the silence was broken when the door creaked open and in walked a man wearing stars on his collar, 4 of them. General Marcus Langston, one of the highest-ranking officers in the U.S. military, stood in the doorway, his face a mixture of fury and regret. "Uncuff him," he ordered the stunned officers. "Now?" When the cuffs came off, Jake didn't flinch. He simply looked up at the general, his expression unreadable. Langston dismissed the officers and shut the door. Alone now, the 2 men, both warriors in different ways, sat in silence. "I'm sorry," Jake Langston finally said. "This never should have happened." The general explained what Jake had already guessed. A bureaucratic error in an outdated database cross-referenced one of his old covert identities with an open arrest warrant. No one double-checked. The system didn't distinguish between a decorated operator and a wanted criminal. "You gave everything," Langston said, "and this is how the system repays you." Jake didn't need an apology. What he wanted was accountability for himself and for the others like him, because he wasn't the only one who had walked away from service with ghosts in the paperwork. Operators lived and died without names, and those who survived were often forgotten, their identities too classified to protect them. Langston didn't argue. Instead, he offered Jake something more valuable than a medal. He offered him a role in fixing it. "You know the field. You know the system. Help me change it," he said. Jake looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. Months passed. Jake traded his rifle scope for policy meetings, his camouflage for a suit. With Langston's backing, he became a special advisor to a reform committee focused on veterans transition and classified identity tracking. He didn't want publicity. He wanted results. His first mission was to overhaul the outdated database that had flagged him. New protocols were established. Layers of validation were added. More importantly, covert service members were now properly transitioned out of classified status with safeguards to protect their civilian lives. Jake also met with other veterans, some who had been mistakenly detained, others whose benefits were delayed due to similar identity errors. His presence gave them hope. He wasn't just a war hero, he was their advocate. Then came the hearing. Before Congress, Jake shared his story not for sympathy, but for change. "I wasn't the first, this happened too," he said. "But I'll damn well make sure I'm the last." The story went viral. A news headline captured it best. Cops handcuffed a Navy sniper, then a 4-star general walked in to apologize. But for Jake, the real victory wasn't the apology. It was knowing that others wouldn't have to suffer in silence, that the next ghost wouldn't be forgotten. And so, the sniper who once disappeared into the shadows stepped into the light not to be honored, but to protect those who served beside him, because even legends need someone watching their six.